Hi honeys, welcome back to another episode of Girl Do It For You. Let's talk about being present and living in your present life and just that in general, I guess. I'm a year into this podcast thing and I still am like, how do I start these? Anyways, something I have to remind myself of often, and when I do, I'm so grateful, is be present. Live in the moment you're in. Stop hoping for happiness. Stop wishing away your life, basically. Like, constantly looking for the next best thing. Now, it's good to always have a plan, yes. However, if that is the only thing that brings you joy, like constantly, like, oh, I can't wait for this week to be over, for the weekend, or I can't wait for this to pass so I can do this, or I can't wait for my birthday, or I can't wait for this trip. You are in a happy time in your life and you are in a point where you've probably always wished you could be. Be grateful for that and be thankful that you're in it. Be so grateful and so thankful that you've made it to this point. You've made it to the happiness. You've made it to the good part. You did it. You did the hard stuff, because there was a time where all you wished for was the life that you're currently living. And it really hit me the other day because I was driving home from work, and the street that runs across, like behind me where I'm sitting right now, that back street, I didn't even notice it until maybe I've lived here like a year, and it was maybe like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I was like, holy shit. So about 3-ish years ago, I used to babysit for this family, and the mum lived, I don't know, I don't really talk to them anymore. She lived like just over here, maybe like 5 minutes from where I live now. And I used to drive the street behind me to go pick her son up from school, and I would always love the drive. I'd always drive my windows down, I'd blast my music. I was always like, this is such a beautiful drive. Like, I never knew this part of this town existed, because where we live now isn't somewhere I grew up or know very well. And so I was like, this is amazing. Like, this drive, this road, the scenery, all of it. And now I live directly off of that road that I used to drive every single day and wish that I could drive every single day. Wish that that was my daily drive, and it is my daily drive to everywhere. And I just think it's crazy because you never realize, and you hold these moments, like, you're not grateful until you were made aware of the situation. Like, I literally just drove that road every single day to work, and that was it. And then the other day I was like, this is the road I used to always want to drive down. And you just never realize, like, the little things like that in life, and you take them from granted, is what I'm trying to get to. You take it for granted. We take so much for granted that we have so much to be happy about. And yeah, don't get me wrong, life sucks at times. I'm not going to sit here and say it doesn't. My life is dragging me through the dirt right now. But I just want to be grateful for the moments that I'm here. And I want to find the happiness in the little things. And everyone says romanticize your life, and I don't know how to do that. I don't know what that means. I've tried. I don't really know how to. So I'm just finding the happy moments for me. What makes me happy? My podcast makes me happy. Driving down this road with my windows down, blaring my favourite old throwback music. That makes me happy. My husband coming home from work makes me so happy. I love seeing him. But so many things, like, if there's one thing in life that doesn't make you happy, there are so many others that do. And like, my job doesn't make me happy right now, so I get through the day as happy as I can, as bubbly as I do what I have to do, and then I come home and I have my happiness. I've made my house my happiness, my relationship. Like, that's all that matters. You need to find the things that are your happiness in life. My little Peach, my little Nugget, if she's in the frame, she's my happiness. Winston, like, my patio, I have an egg chair sitting out there. That brings me so much joy, sitting out there with like a nice glass of wine or champagne or cocktail. That is what brings me happiness. And it's just the fact that these are all things that I wished for. I wished for an apartment like this. I used to dream of the day I could live in a really nice apartment with my husband and my 2 dogs and have a patio that I loved sitting on. And now I am at that point in life where, like, that is my everyday life. And I have never been happier about that fact. And I have to remind myself sometimes, because I do let everyday life catch up to me. I let my personal things that are going on and inside of my head, I let it get the better of me. And I'm in therapy and I'm actually progressing in therapy. But I still let it eat me alive sometimes. like 3, 4, I don't even know. The reason there was a mental health week last week, I physically couldn't record. I could not pull myself out of this rut, and it just wasn't going to happen because whatever I was going to record probably wasn't going to be good, and it wasn't going to be anything substantial because I couldn't figure it out. It probably would have been a small episode that was just not well thought out or well edited, and I didn't want to give that to you guys. I didn't want to deliver bad quality to you guys. Like, that's not what I want for this place to be. I want it to be, everything I give out to, like, release to you guys is going to be really good, and I couldn't give you that last week. I couldn't give you my 100%. I couldn't even give you like 50. I could barely give my relationship 50% last week because it was a really bad week for me. And that's okay. We're allowed to have them. You're allowed to give yourself that mental health week, because now this week I'm back. I'm like, okay, no, I have a clear idea. This is what I want to record. These are my ideas. I have my head on straight. Like, I'm motivated, and I'm ready to go. And that gave me this realization of, like, I had a bad week last week. I cried almost every single day, like, bawled my eyes out. The whole thing. There's just a lot going on in my life right now, and it's not good stuff. And so it got up to me, and it does that. And it's like, you have to find other ways to get it out. Like, I have to find other ways, because I know if I kept going the way I was last week, it doesn't end well for me. And I know that by going and getting help, but I've managed to figure it out, and I now know I'm trying to make me happy. I want to live in this time, and I want to be so happy that it overflows onto other people, and I can just be that happy person. And I'm not faking it and none of that. Like, I want to be that, and I am working on it. And something I've also learned is to not rely on other people for your happiness. Don't rely on a friendship. Don't rely on a friendship. Don't rely on a relationship. Don't rely on... You have to make yourself... You have to be happy from within. Like, you have to do the little things. And that's when I was like, no. The little things that make me happy are driving down that one road, going on picnics with my husband. Like, the littlest things in life are what make me happy. Making little date nights here in the house when they're not actually date nights, but I'm going to call them date nights anyway because it makes me happy. And it's hard. It's hard to be happy 24/7, especially if you're trying to force it. And so when there's days where I'm just not happy, we just rot. We rot on the couch, or we're just angry, we scream, we yell, and that's how I process it. I go to therapy, I figure it out, I cry, and people take crying as a sign of weakness, but it's not. It's your emotions, and they are overwhelming a lot of the time, especially if there's a lot going on, or even if there's not, just trying to get through life. And I think this is all part of figuring out in your 20s, and the balance of work-life happiness is very, very hazy, and the line, it's just focus on your own happiness. I don't care what anyone else says. Focus on your happiness. You are the priority. You should be the priority at all times. Because if you're not happy, you are not going to be the true version of yourself. And you need that. And then when you are so, so happy and full of the happiness and the joy and the love, you will overflow all of that. And the extra is what you give everybody else. That extra that you have, that's for everyone else. But your 100 is for you. And that's personal, and that's something that you have to be within yourself. And honestly, I used to give everybody everything I had, and it made me a really miserable person, and it made me so angry at a lot of people, because I would give them every ounce of happiness that I ever had. I would give it to my friends, I would give it to my relationships, I would give it to anybody. I would be like, no, I just want to make you happy, I just want to make you happy, I just want to make you happy. I was such a people pleaser, and I didn't even know it, honestly, until about a couple weeks ago, I was a people pleaser. I used to think I wasn't. I always was like, I don't care what people think of me, this, that, and the other. But deep down, I did. Deep down, I just wanted everyone else around me to be happy and never be mad at me. Don't like people being mad at me. Like, I really don't. And I just wanted to keep everyone happy. I wanted all my friends. I didn't want to lose anybody. That's not how you live. You cannot live like that. You have to protect yourself and your happiness. And what overflows is what you give other people. Also know that you deserve people to treat you with kindness. And we've talked about this before. But if you were trying to work on you and you can't give all these people that extra because you are not okay, don't chase them. If those people want to leave, don't chase them. Don't chase people. You are so important and you matter so much, and someone else will recognize it, whether it's a friend and whether it's a relationship. This goes for every type of friendship, relationship, anything. Do not chase someone for anything. It's not worth it. It's not. You are important and you matter, and I promise you'll be happier if you just let that person walk out of your life. If they're gonna go, let them. Don't defend shitty behavior. How many scars did you have to justify because you loved the person holding the knife? That is such a loaded question. On how many people that you have defended because you love them, because they're your friend, because they're family, because it's your boyfriend, your husband, your best friend. It is not worth it. It is not worth your happiness. Be present and be so aware of everyone around you that you are there. You are able to be like, no, you're not good for me. You are not a good friend, boyfriend, husband, cousin, whoever. Know that friendships change. And friendships in your 20s can be difficult and weird and hard to make and confusing because everyone's at different stages, right? Because even if you meet someone that's the exact same age as you, they're at a different point in life. You could meet someone way younger than you that's more successful than you, and that makes you feel like shit. Or you meet someone way older and they're at the same level and you're like, oh, okay, so I don't have to have my life figured out. Making friends when you're in your mid-20s is not fun. It's not easy. And outgrowing old friendships is terrifying. And nobody wants to do it. But friendships change over time. Not in a bad way. I mean, sometimes, sure. But it's not always in a bad way. Sometimes it can just be the fact that you're not 16 anymore and attached at this person's hip when all that mattered was high school, homecoming, football games, and each other. You're an adult with real life things and boyfriends, getting married, having kids for some people, you know, growing up, getting your own place, having bills to pay for, having a full-time job, and trying to then have your friendships adjust to that is awful, quite honestly. It's the worst thing I've ever had to do, and it's draining because you are trying to balance everybody and you're trying to go from something to another, and everyone has to have an understanding. But it's hard because you're not in everyone's brain. But trying to find the balance of everything is nearly fucking impossible. It is. It's not to say it can't be done. Just a lot of effort has to go into those friendships and understanding that everyone is evolving. Everyone is moving on with life. Everyone is growing up. But it all comes down to having conversations, grown up conversations, and understanding what's going on in your friends' lives and knowing that, okay, they're not neglecting me. They are doing blah, blah, blah. Okay. But going from, you know, being 16 in high school and that's all that mattered to being in your mid-20s is drastically different. Like, everyone always says if you can make it past the 10-year friendship, then you're good. There's no chance of it breaking up. But it's still hard. And when you don't have a 10-year friendship, if you have a shorter friendship, I'm not saying it's going to like end, but like it's difficult to navigate it. And it's usually stuff that like you've never done before, but communication is the biggest thing I can tell anybody, but it's difficult. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to be scared and for it to be terrifying and you have no idea what the hell you're supposed to do, what the right thing is and what the wrong thing is. Just be kind about everything. Like I said, being in your 20s is terrifying and awful and lonely. Oh my God, is being in your 20s lonely? It is the loneliest I've ever felt in my entire life. I have never felt more alone than I do at this age. And it's good because it's teaching me how to find my own happiness and to find it from within me and things around me that make me happy. And that's why I realized I can't rely on friends or relationships to make me happy. It is the fastest way to get your heart broken. And I've hurt myself by putting my all into friendships and it not working out, and I've had to be really lonely at times to figure out what happened and all of the stuff, but I have never felt more alone than I do now. And it's just everyone's going through life. Everyone's trying to figure out their shit. And I've learned how to be happy alone. And I think that's the biggest thing to becoming an adult sometimes, is because you don't have friends like that as you grow up. You're not young and all that matters is your friendship. Like, there's so many other things, and I have learned how to navigate them myself. I've learned how to come up with solutions myself without having to call friends and be like, I need help. No, it's fine. I figured it out by myself, because that's what my 20s is teaching me. It's teaching me how to just be there for me, how to fill my cup, how to make me happy. When I'm freaking out and I literally cannot call anybody because I don't have anyone, I'm learning how to figure out stuff on my own. And it sucks. I'm not going to lie. And it is terrifying. But it's going to be so beneficial because you are the most important person in your life and you're a priority and you deserve to be treated like it. One thing I have learned about getting a husband is no one will have your back like your husband has your back. Like, I'm talking about how I'm so lonely and I'm trying to learn how to do things alone, but I have my husband. But I'm talking about, I used to rely on happiness from when he would come home from work, and I would get so upset and so angry if he didn't come home because I wasn't happy by myself home alone. I'm like, I'm bored, I'm lonely, I want him, I want company, I want this. But I'm finding it myself because he works late hours and I don't, and now I'm like alone a lot more, and so I'm figuring it out, and it's good. But I don't know, like when I look at my parents, I see they don't have too many outside friendships because they have each other. And being with my husband, I have noticed that whenever there's a problem, I have my husband. He is the only person who's never doubted me, who has never gave up on me, who, no matter how crazy I sound or how ridiculous I am, he's like, okay, we're going to figure it out, we're going to do it, whatever we have to do. I've got you, whether I'm freaking on a spiral down a bad time, he's there. Like, whether I just want to rant and bitch, he's there to listen. And for the longest time, I always was like, no, that's what my friends are for, that's what my friends are for, but it's not, because friends up and leave. My husband is who has got my back 110%, and I am so grateful for that, man. I would not be the woman I am today without my husband. My husband is my backbone, 100% in life. I know I can go to him with anything, and he's got it. And he also will tell me if I'm wrong and if I'm being dramatic, and he'll be like, all right, listen, let's reason a little bit. But he's who I spend all of my time with. He knows me better than anyone, better than anybody. He knows me better than I know myself sometimes, because he sees things from the outside. When I can't go to friends, or I can't go to family, or I can't go to anyone because they just don't want to listen or they don't care or whatever, I have him, because he's always going to care and he always listens. And I couldn't ask for a more supportive partner than him. There's a specific moment or situation that had happened just before my wedding. And it was an eye-opener for me. And it really changed how I viewed a lot of people. People who I thought were going to be there for me and figure it out weren't. Like, I was shocked on the people that just didn't show up or care in that situation. And it sucked, but you know who showed up? You know who was there? My husband. He is who showed up. Matthew was there. And I will scream it from the rooftops. I don't care if I sound like a broken fucking record, because my husband has got my back 150 million%. And I know that. And it sucked that it had to happen in the way that it did just before my wedding. But it really, really showed me that I have him. And he has me. Like, it really just, it opened my eyes a lot. And I was like, damn. You're it. Like, you, and it just, like, we were getting married. Like, obviously we were getting married, but it was just like, I have made such a good choice in choosing my husband. And to find a love like that is absolutely unreal. And the other day he looked at me and he was like, he said, when are you going to stop putting everyone else's happiness first? He said, you are draining your mental health for the sake of everyone else's happiness. And that really, I was like, what? What are you talking about? And he was like, you are killing yourself to make everyone else happy. And you are just going down a spiral because no one else notices, because you're so busy trying to keep them happy. You're ruining your mental health. Like, you. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. Like, I didn't see it. And he, like, you know, he sat with me and we had a whole conversation. And he's like, why do you care? Like, they don't, if they're going to treat you like that, they don't matter. Like, they're not people you need in your life. And I was like, oh my God, like, you're right. Because there's so many things when you're in it, you don't see it it's like when you're in a relationship and people are like, leave. You don't see it. And then someone has to put it into perspective, and you sit there and you think about it and you're like, you're right. And it's not fun, but you have to put yourself first. And it's going to feel like the wrong thing at times. And it's at times you're going to think you're selfish, but you're not. Because your happiness is what's important, and you have to be happy to live in the present. That's what keeps us going. Because if you're constantly looking for the next thing to give you that little spurt of happiness, you're not truly happy. Live in the present life. You're in a life you always wished for. You always wished for this. Whether you're in school and you always wish to get into that school, whether you just graduated and you're trying to find a job and you're like stressed about it, you always wish you could graduate. Whether you just got the job or you're in a, whatever. It's something you've probably always wished for, and you are missing it by constantly looking for the next best thing. Be happy. Find what makes you happy and do it. And do it really fucking well. I don't care how little it is. I don't care if it's sitting out on your freaking patio for an hour every night. Or taking your dogs on a really long walk. Or just cuddling them. Or walking along the beach. Or going and watching really shitty TV and eating popcorn with friends. I don't care what it is, but if it makes you happy, do it. Find what makes you happy. I'm going to play this quote from Adele. Rachel, that we know and love, you know, my best friend, she sent it to me. And I just think everyone should listen to it.
Because what is meant for you will never leave you. Everything that you think is going to happen is not going to happen. It'll be the opposite. Never lose sight of why you are who you are. The reason people are into you is because there's something you have in you. Don't ever let go of that, ever. Sometimes loneliness is the only rest we get. Sometimes emptiness actually lets us forget. Yes. And sometimes forgiveness is easiest in secret. And stability. I don't have to expect someone else to give me stability. I can also be stable for myself.
It's true. Everything that was said is true. What is meant for you will never leave you. What you have in you is why people like you. Don't lose it. Your sparkle, your spark, don't lose it. And if you do, find it. If you've lost it, try so hard to find it because you are so important. I just think you need to find your happiness because you're important and you matter and you need to be happy. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to have joy in your life. You deserve to dance around the house in your underwear singing to your favorite song in the world. Find what makes you happy, do it and do it well. And find really good friends. Makes life easier. And don't forget, I love you. Bye, honeys.